focus on the positive and everything will fall into place. I think that's really important.
Today we have Justine Curtis from Inspired Adventures. Welcome, Justine.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Tell us about your business.
All right. So it's a fundraising agency and a travel company rolled into one.
Wow.
And for the past 17 years, we've been creating and managing adventures all around the world and obviously now in Australia for many brilliant charities. And we've raised almost $41 million to date. We get a team of charity supporters to join the adventure, raise funds and go away on the trip of a lifetime.
That sounds amazing. And how did you get into that? How did you get started?
Back in 2004, I was working for a company, and as part of a management training course, I had to come up with a goal to get myself out of my comfort zone. And for some really strange reason, I put my hand up and said, I'm going to reach the summit of Kilimanjaro within 12 weeks and raise $30,000 to pay for a water pump for an orphanage in Zimbabwe. I don't know where that came from. And it was, I had already been to Africa, and my partner at the time had said, let's climb Kili. And I was like, no way, I'm not prepared. I don't know what to do. I'm not fit enough. And that was just a typical kind of me reaction. So I think this was me, putting it out there, being bold, declaring it. And in 12 weeks' time, or under 12 weeks' time, I was on the summit of Kilimanjaro with a couple of friends. We'd raised over $30,000 and achieved the goal. And that was, I guess, transformational, and knowing yourself to be someone different than you've known yourself to be before. I can actually declare something and do it and not be a big no about things. And I was working in fundraising at the time, and I'd seen this type of charity challenge event, build momentum over in the UK. And I'd been working with charities here in Australia. So I saw an opportunity to create an agency, which is very unique, where we do all of the work to help a charity recruit people to join the trek. We help the people fundraise and prepare and organize the travel and operations and logistics and put the whole thing together from start to finish. So that's how it came to be.
Wow. So it's like a done for you fundraising opportunity.
Pretty much, yeah.
That is great. And I'm interested, Justine, what had to change in you to go from, no, I'm never doing that, to, wow, I'm at the summit?
I think it's that, saying, no, I'm not going to do that, and then walking away and really deep down wanting to do it. And, the disappointment that you have with yourself, and we see it many, many times. We've had thousands of people come on our adventures, people living with stage 4 cancer, people who just want to get fit, people who just want to support UNICEF. We get corporate teams that come on board, and there's so much excitement in declaring you're going to do something and actually following through and getting to that point where you've completed base camp, or you've cycled across Cambodia, or you've summited Kosciuszko in the moonlight and things like that. Is really transformational. So it's really declaring something and following through with it. And when we coach people on their journey to fundraise and go on these trips, and we have someone, and I remember very clearly a guy that was going to do the New York Marathon, and he had to raise about $3,000 or $4,000 for the Heart Foundation. And he nearly pulled out, and keeping him on board when he was literally about to cancel was life-changing, because you know yourself to be someone who can stick at something and follow through, and that will have an impact on the rest of your life, I think.
Yeah, and you would have seen some amazing stories.
Definitely. Yeah, we've had a couple of completely blind participants summit Kilimanjaro. This one guy, Henry, raised $35,000 to fund a new guide dog, and he literally spent 5 days reaching the top of Kili with his brilliant guide, going left a bit, right a bit here, couple of steps forward, going, at altitude up to, almost 6,000 meters, which is extraordinary. We've had teenagers trek with parents on Kokoda. I had a woman complete a cycle ride across Cambodia for Breast Cancer Network Australia. She was in her 30s and she sadly passed away from breast cancer a few weeks after completing the ride. And
wow,
just incredible stories.
Yeah, that is amazing. And so then in a business sense, where do you think you can bring the most value to the marketplace?
We're a B corporation, so I went for our B Corp certification probably about 6 years ago, and that's been
and Justine, for those who don't know what that is, what does that mean? Yeah.
B Corp is a very high standard certification process that you can go through, looking at sustainability, environmental practices, how you treat your staff and suppliers, etc., making sure that you're an ethical, sustainable business in the corporate world. It's a very rigorous certification process, and there's about 200 or more areas of business and questions to complete and pass. And by certifying, we've managed to influence our ground operator in South America to go through the process. So that's having a ripple effect to people that are joining their trips and trekking in the Machu Picchu and doing lots of different adventures around Peru, and now traveling with a B Corp certified organization. And I think we, as a travel company, and it's not necessarily an easy certification to get, particularly in this business, is having a ripple effect on other organizations, which is great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so could you give us one or two insights that gave you the biggest and most dramatic growth for your business?
Ironically, COVID.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting. Last year, beginning of 2020, when COVID hit, it was horrific. Our biggest destination last year was China. We had about 10 or 12 Great Wall of China treks booked. So obviously it started in China. We then pivoted quite a few of those onto Italy, and that's where COVID then took hold in Italy. So it was just this few months of literally just racing away from it. And then everything shut down. And in a very strange way, whilst it had an enormous impact on cash flow, an incredibly stressful time for us, the team, and of course, all our amazing participants on our trips. We've managed to move into a fully remote organization, really cut our expenses, and pivoted onto a fully Australian and New Zealand portfolio of adventures. What's now happened is we've got 117 adventures booked for 2022. That's our biggest year on record. So that's 117 charity groups booked in to go and have life-changing fundraising trips. Wow. Our biggest year before that was 83. So we're finding that people who perhaps were reticent to travel overseas in the past and looking to do something more local, like a Tasmania trip or something in WA, are signing up. And those obviously that can't travel overseas are also signing up. So it's been a really, really cathartic time. We've managed to rebrand, and I've got the best team I've ever had working with me and Inspired. And now we're starting to layer on top of that international. So looking to Tuscany treks and Camino de Santiago in Japan and New Zealand. And so that's going to be a wonderful organic growth on top of this beautiful domestic portfolio.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so, Justine, what advice would you give to a CEO or business owner who really wants to break through to that next level?
Couple of things. Really hold true to your values. And I think the more integrity and trustworthiness and honesty you can have with yourself, your team, your clients, and the customers, and do the right thing wherever possible, do good work, then those values will hold true to you. People tell me time and time again that I'm a very optimistic person. And I think that's something that's really, particularly over the last 24 months, carried me through in the business through. Just focusing on the positives whilst, having cash flow issues, or something's not going quite right, or you need to fix something that's, the wheels have fallen off. Focus on the positive and everything will fall into place. I think that's really important. And have real connectedness with your financials, with your cash flow, with your P&L. Be as financial literate as you can possibly be. Work very intimately with your finance team, and understanding that really well will help you make sure that you're driving the sales and revenue to achieve your goals and remain profitable. And then last but not least, treat your team with the very best respect. That they are the core, they are the thing that's going to have you succeed the most. A happy, well looked after team is going to really take the organization a very, very long way. So make sure you keep it with performance reviews, acknowledging people. We have a recognition day each week. We have wellness Friday afternoons, where they have Friday afternoons off for the foreseeable because of what's happened with COVID. And all of those things will go a long way to keeping you very well supported and each other supported.
Great. Yeah, that is some really good advice. And I know, Justine, you've been going a long time, but if you could go back for just say, let's say 5 years and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
I would say put more time and energy into digital and technology now, and look at how you can have those pieces work harder for you, so you can reduce your expenses and perhaps your wage bill. I think that's an important piece. So that's been over the year pretty transformational, just investing more in that area to have more efficiencies in the business, and less man hours on the phone, as opposed to beautiful automated journeys for leads and using SMS and email and things like that. That's been a really big one for us, driving organic sales as opposed to having to really pull them in. Yeah,
perfect. And here's a chance to shamelessly promote your business. Who can you best help, and if they want to get in touch, how can they reach you?
We're seeing a really exciting growth in businesses wanting to have team building and staff engagement experiences with Inspired Adventures. It could be a weekend doing 3 peaks in New South Wales, or a scenic rim trek in Queensland, or even something further afield. So we'd be happy to offer anyone a free consultation on how we can create an exciting team building inspired adventure for them. So if you're keen to find out more, send me an email at justine@inspiredadventures.com.au.
Perfect. And Justine, what's your website again?
inspiredadventures.com.au.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Justine, for being on the show. We really appreciate the value that you've been able to provide.
Thanks so much. Really enjoyed having me on. Thank you.
Thank you.